Hi, so today we're going to talk about the paradox of mutual creation in Indian philosophy and everyday life. We are going to try and use equations to understand it better, and we are also going to touch upon the Hindu and the Buddhist thoughts which are there on this topic. So, creation is not a one way street, it's a paradox of mutual creation, where the creator and the created bring each other into being. It is a circular relationship in the creation myth where one cosmic principle creates another and in turn is created by them. It is a reciprocal causality and mutual dependence to express profound interconnectedness of reality that transcends simple linear cause and effect relationship. So we can take it as Purusha and Prakriti, which is consciousness and nature that bring each other into being. Or we can take it as Shiva and Shakti are inseparable. Shiva is the pure potential and consciousness, but a Shava or a corpse without Shakti. And Shakti becomes the dynamic energy but needs Shiva for direction, and their dance is of mutuality that sustains the cosmos. So now we can see a Purusha and Prakriti, that is consciousness and nature, how they coexist and create each other. So Shiva, we can take it as the potential, and Shakti is the energy, and they both create each other. So our texts tell us nothing exists alone. Consciousness is meaningless without nature, and this consciousness is now empty without matter to reflect it, and matter is inert without consciousness to enliven it, and thus they create each other all at once. Energy is therefore directionless without awareness, and Purusha and Prakriti is the consciousness and nature that then bring each other into being. So, just like Shiva and Shakti, they dance together, the dance of creation comes into being. The divine principles of the cosmos are not sequential creations, but are external and coexist and mutually originate together. The circulatory suggests a beginningless cycle of existence. So Shiva and Shakti are inseparable. So Shiva becomes the pure potential, as I have noted here, the pure potential consciousness, and is a shava or a corpse, as I have mentioned before, without Shakti. And Shakti is the dynamic energy but needs Shiva to give direction. And the dance of mutuality sustains the cosmos. So we will discuss this further in detail the next slide. This paradox is not an abstract. It exists in our everyday lives, as you will see, and I'll try to explain. The parents create the child biologically. The child also creates the parent because before they were not a mother or a father. It's only when the child comes that they become parents. A teacher defines the student. The student makes the teacher. Student listens and gains knowledge from the teacher, and the teacher imparts the knowledge to the one who listens, and that is the student. Work. You create your work, but the work creates you. You are shaping yourself and your identity and discipline. So, if you are a sports person, you will be more energetic and more dynamic in your everyday life, isn't it? So, that is just the idea. So, if you're a writer or a businessman or a sports person, then accordingly will be your behavior and the way you are and the attitude to life. So love, now let's get to love. Love exists because two people recognize each other. They create each other as beloved. Without recognition the identity does not exist. Knowledge arises not from just the knower imposing the order, but the world also reveals itself to the person who is trying to understand it, trying to gain the knowledge. So the knowledge is the experience which is put into words. So this is what it means in everyday life. One more example is we breathe in air and trees gives us oxygen, and they exist because we give out carbon dioxide. So life is constantly created. So simultaneous creation and coexistence, they come together. So now let's understand this concept by trying to put a logical equation to it, right? So I think Descartes spoke about I think, therefore I am. So in the same method, we will use a logical equation, and I'll try and explain the reciprocal causality that is there. Western thought is generally a very linear thought, as you can see in the diagram, and the Indian thought process in philosophy is usually cyclical. So, so reciprocal causality is the mythic over the linear logic. Basically, this is what I feel. And cause and effect are not always assumed to be linear in our thinking in the Indian philosophy. Uh, so it is called mythical causality to express the interconnectedness of existence where the cause and effect are a part of the same creative interplay. So, for example, the fire ritual that we have, the yagna, nourishes the gods and sustains the cosmic order that enables the ritual itself to take place. So, you have to do the ritual so that the gods are pleased and they will give back their blessings to you. So, this is like a feedback loop of mutual sustenance between gods, humans, and the cosmos. So we can say, to explain in a better way, so A exists only in relation to B and B exists only in relation to A. So this is the logical expression. So we take C as the consciousness or the Purusha, let's call, or we can call it Shiva, and N as nature or energy. You can say Prakriti or Shakti. So in the Western logic, how would it be? It would be linear. So consciousness creates nature, and nature and or nature creates consciousness. It's a very straight way concept. But in the Indian logic, consciousness and nature co-create each other. So there cannot be existence if consciousness is not there, then even nature is not there. So consciousness cannot existence cannot exist without consciousness or without nature. And there is no existence if there is no nature, there is no consciousness. So there is so existence and nature, or consciousness and nature, arise together to create existence. If any one of them is not there, there is no existence. They have to arise together in order for existence to happen. It's a simultaneous creation and coexistence. All right. So now let's do a little bit more of equation making. So existence is a function of consciousness and nature. So if consciousness is zero, then existence will also be zero. And if nature is zero, then existence will also therefore be zero. And therefore they cannot exist together if they are not there. So existence then become is the product of consciousness and nature. Okay, so it's a combined effort, and this is where the concept of swayambhu also exists in Indian philosophy, where um, certain gods, mainly most gods, are created by themselves. They exist by themselves. So this could be just an idea which means that they exist because they have to exist, because all the nature and all the circumstances came about to create this person. So existence therefore is the product of consciousness and nature. So neither factor alone yields existence, both are required. And so we have one more analogy. So we have the parent as P and child as CH. So there is no parent if there is no child. So the role becomes meaningless, and there's no child without a parent. So you need a parent so that there's a child. So it is biologically impossible. So the family identity is F is equal to P into CH. Now, to explain further the concept of this lovely dancer who is there, does the dancer create the dance or does the dance create the dancer? So, dancer creates the dance, but the dance also creates the dancer, doesn't it? Her identity, the dancer's identity, her beauty, her presence, and then the dance itself. So, neither exists without the other. It is because of the discipline that she has learned through the dance that she is the way she is. All right. So reality therefore becomes interconnected, and there is no single isolated starting point, uh, and all of existence is therefore interdependent. So, and our understanding therefore becomes a little limited. So, human language and linear thought are therefore insufficient for describing the true non dual nature of the ultimate reality. So, this, for some of you who I'm trying to explain, might find it a little bit difficult to understand, but it is like a mutual dependence. Maybe when we go to the Buddhist part, Buddhist thought on this, it will be easier for you. So the cycle becomes external. Creation and dissolution are part of the beginningless and endless cycle of manifestation. They reveal that reality is therefore a continuous dynamic process rather than just a one time event. So this will keep on happening again and again. And it's not in isolation that this is just going to take place once. So now I'd like to touch upon this a lovely, beautiful concept and Buddhist thought of Pratitya Samutpada. So Pratitya means dependent or conditioned relying upon, and Samutpada means arising out of. So together they mean dependent origination or arising together through certain conditions that need to be met. One condition is required so that the next condition takes place, and then the ultimate result comes because of certain conditions that come one after the other. So nothing exists independently, and everything arises because of something else. So no phenomena in this thought process exist in isolation. Every existence is independent, interdependent, and conditional. If the conditions change, then the thing also ceases to exist. So those conditions have to fall together in place as they are. Any different conditions will lead to a different result ultimately. So this breaks the illusion of permanent separate self or object. We will discuss this in the further section. You will understand it perhaps better. Now, here we have Buddha's 12 links of dependent origination. Now, you can see that 12 different conditions that take place, or you can see different phases that a person goes through. And this cycle shows suffering and dukkha arises because not from just one cause, but a lot of chain of events that take place, which are basically dependent conditions which affect our mind and our body and our thinking. So let's start with ignorance. So that is not understanding what the true reality is of this existence. And because of the sanskara, the maya that is around us, we make mental formations because of the physical body and our karmic habits that we indulge in. The thoughts and the impulses are formed because of ignorance. It is just cognition without real understanding of existence. And apart from this, still yet a consciousness arises shaped by these mental patterns. So whatever you have learned before from your past experiences imprints in your consciousness, and you start developing some ego, some idea about how things are. So now we start giving labels to the mind, and the body comes together, and starts to manifest in how a person uh, deals with life and existence and the things that they are in different situations, how they behave. So we absorb everything through the six senses: the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind are the sense bases through which we absorb all this information. And we are still in the physical realm, by the way. And when we touch something, when we sense something, we start interacting with what is happening with the world around us. And so we start having these sensations. Then we want everything that makes us happy, we want something which pleases us and brings us superficial happiness. So this desire or thirst for pleasant sensation, and we avoid doing something unpleasant for us. So, and you start then clinging to these things which are pleasant and easier to achieve, and they start these things which we achieve basically, massage our ego and our thinking about ourselves. So we start grasping tightly to these attachments and desires. We want more things because we feel happy with more things in our lives will make us happy. So we start having these beliefs about life and ourselves, and our identity starts forming. And so we become this person whom we are. So this is how we exist. And and thus finally we become, or we are born, or we are birthed into the conditions that have created us by the becoming, because of all of these conditions which have taken place, right? And this is then of course the cycle of birth and death, and the suffering which keeps on going, because even afterwards you pass away from this life unsatisfied, and then you are again reborn, and you are again attached to the suffering. So the best is not to have materialistic uh, wishes and desires in this life, because suffering is the main cause, the dukkha, which arises not from a single cause but from a chain of events and dependent conditions which make life a little bit difficult. So we have to break these chains and let go of material desires, is the main philosophy in Buddhism, and be one with the consciousness, the universe. So we all can become Buddha. The light is within us, but the light has to come out and shine forth. But to reach that stage, it's extremely difficult. And now, to give some very simple, everyday examples of this concept, we have the seeds and the trees. The seed becomes a tree because of the soil, water, and sunlight and air. The tree does not exist by itself. Language and words, they mean nothing without each other. It's the words and the grammar and those who are listening to it and understanding it, is because we are communicating a meaning to it. So language arises from mutual dependence of all these certain conditions that should exist. And you and others, your identity exists only because of the relations that you have, and that is how the society and the family uh, has made you and put you in this world, and that is your position. You're not a self-contained being. None of us are, even if we want to be alone or alive, but we exist and we have a position in society because all the relationship and the connections we have to society. So if X exists only to conditions ABC, then X is a function of ABC. So remove any one condition and X ceases to exist. So existence is not independent, it is basically conditional. Okay, so these conditions have to exist in order for the type of existence that is there to occur. So life is not a web or a chain, and everything is woven together because the cause and effect are not linear but are circular and interdependent. So, as you can see, life is not unilateral, it is relational. We are always co creating with people, with the nature, and with the universe itself and existence. And the paradox of mutual creation in Indian philosophy and the teaching of the Buddhist Pratitya Samuppada Both point to the same truth, that nothing exists by itself. Consciousness and nature, cause and effect, self and the world are woven together in this living web. And the paradox of mutual creation reminds us of one truth, that life is never one sided. We are constantly shaping and being shaped, and creation is always a dialogue and never a monologue. And when we see this, we stop clinging to separateness and begin to live with deeper sense of connection and responsibility and compassion. And perhaps that is where wisdom truly begins, doesn't it? What do you think about this? Do let me know. And that is all for this video. Thank you, and hope to see you with a new topic next time on Indian philosophy or philosophy by itself. Thank you. Bye bye.